The text of a letter that Obama wrote Trump has leaked, and I want to read you some of it here for reasons that I'll describe at the end. So here's the first portion of it. It's a hefty amount, but it's well worth it. So this is what Obama wrote to Trump when Trump was moving into the White House. Dear Mr. President, congratulations on a remarkable run. Millions have placed their hopes in you, and all of us, regardless of party, should hope for expanded prosperity and security during your tenure. This is a unique office without a clear blueprint for success, and I don't know that any advice from me will be particularly helpful. Still, let me offer a few reflections from the past 8 years. First, we've both been blessed in different ways with great good fortune. Not everyone is so lucky. It's up to us to do everything we can to build more ladders of success for every child and family that's willing to work hard. Second, American leadership in this world really is indispensable. So it's up to us through action and example to sustain the international order that's expanded steadily since the end of the Cold War and upon which our own wealth and safety depend. Third, we are just temporary occupants of this office. That makes us guardians of those democratic institutions and traditions like rule of law, separation of powers, equal protection, and civil liberties that our forebears fought and bled for. Regardless of the push and pull of daily politics, it's up to us to leave those instruments of our democracy at least as strong as we found them. Okay, so here's why this letter pisses me off. As if you didn't know that was coming. The first thing that he throws out there is, well, look, we're both personally blessed and we should acknowledge that not everybody's as lucky as us and we got to try to help out those who are less fortunate and build more ladders for hardworking people to make it. Okay, that's fine. No problem with that. But the second point he made, if you want to interpret it in a very straightforward way, it's continue the empire. Because this is what he says. American leadership in this world really is indispensable. You want to ask the people of Vietnam that question? You want to ask the people of Iraq? Or Afghanistan? Or any of the other countries that we've militarily intervened in post-World War II? I mean, the second fucking point he makes is American leadership is indispensable. It's up to us, through action and example, to sustain the international order that's expanded steadily since the end of the Cold War and upon which our own wealth and safety depend. That's interesting. Upon which our own wealth and safety depend. So that's an admission that, hey, it's because of our militaristic foreign policy that we can stay in control of the world's natural resources, and our own wealth depends on staying in control of those natural resources. That's a very clear admission right there. So, what one should take away from this portion of the letter that Obama left for Trump is that Obama, in his heart of hearts, believes in so-called American exceptionalism. Believes in the idea that we're not a nation among nations, we're a nation above nations, which is an American supremacist ideology, which is essentially a neocon philosophy. Now, when he ran in 2008 and even in 2012, he wasn't portraying himself that way. No, he was portraying himself in the opposite way. He was saying we should get out of these wars. But then when he governed, when he was actually president, what did he do? He took 2 wars that Bush left us and turned them into 7 interventions. So if he wanted to get us out, well, mission failure, because he got us involved in more interventions. Now, you know, the way that many in the media would portray that and spin that is, well, I mean, what are you going to do? He inherited this mess and then he had to react, and it was all because of Bush's mistakes that President Obama just bungled his way into another 6 more interventions. Well, that's ridiculous. And now we know his thought process. He's saying right here, American leadership in this world really is indispensable. And it is the international order that's expanded steadily since the end of the Cold War, upon which our wealth and safety depend. So all the talk, anytime he ever said, hey, we're creating more terrorists with this war on terror, he was just mimicking the mouth noises that he knew people on the left wanted to hear to get him in power. And then once he got in power, what did he do? The same old shit. So you can put to bed whatever, questions still remained. This gets rid of all the illusions. The second fucking point he makes to Trump is continue the empire. And this gets back, what's funny is that was an argument that Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz and other cretins on the right made against Trump in the primary. When Trump used to say, hey, what are we doing? We got to get out of Iraq. We got to get out of Afghanistan. We got to rebuild here at home. We're wasting all this money overseas for no reason. There's no end in sight. It's useless. It's never going to improve the situation. All the people on the right would say, oh, how dare you suggest those things? I mean, don't you understand? America's the indispensable nation, and we need to be in control for our own wealth and safety. And guess what? Everybody else got obliterated in that primary. So people on the right openly argue the establishment neocon narrative, and it got incredibly crushed, smashed, defeated, routed. And so now we learn Obama behind closed doors, same shit. Well, we got to keep it going. We got to keep the American empire going. Okay, so what? We have 900 military bases around the world. It costs $100 billion a year to maintain. Meanwhile, we don't even have clean water in Flint, Michigan, and elsewhere across the country. Our infrastructure gets a grade of D+. What are you going to do? Got to continue the empire. The second fucking point he makes. The first one is just a bullshit personal point. Oh, you're lucky, I'm lucky, so we got to try to help out other people vaguely, kind of, not really. But American leadership, indispensable in the world, which is why, by the way, polls of regular people around the world show that when you ask them which country is the biggest threat to world peace, America wins by a mile and a half. So it's indispensable, even though everybody hates it. We create more terrorists, and we have nothing to show for the war on terror except more terrorists being created and wasting our money, wasting our lives, our resources. And then the other point I want to make, the final point I want to make on this is he talks about, oh, we have to uphold our institutions. We're temporary occupants, so we're guardians of democratic institutions and traditions, rule of law, separation of powers, equal protection, civil liberties. Dude, you don't get to rant about those things and talk about those things in the way you are here, while, for example, it was you and your administration that had fucking kill lists. Deeply unconstitutional. You killed Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki, a 16-year-old boy. An American boy. No due process. There was no trial, no nothing. You killed him with a fucking drone and he was on your kill list. And then you're going to rant about rule of law and separation of powers and equal protection and civil liberties. Does he get to do that while Edward Snowden is in hiding when Snowden was exposing unconstitutional actions of our own government? That's a war on whistleblowers. Now, thankfully, at the end, he did the right thing with Manning, but not with Snowden. So again, he's ranting about rule of law, separation of powers. Just so everybody knows, it's supposed to be the case under our Constitution that presidents get approval when they do a war. Congress has to approve war. Obama didn't go through Congress for his 8 interventions. I lose count. That's how many there fucking been. So, I mean, think about that. He's ranting about these high-minded principles of government that we have set up in this country. Meanwhile, he skirted them whenever he thought it was necessary. So he went right around Congress and said, no, we're going to, all these extra interventions that we're doing, which are illegal under international law and unconstitutional under our own system, I'm just going to say we're adding that to the authorization for the use of military force that came under Bush for the war on terror. So he doesn't realize, in many ways, he laid the groundwork for a guy like Trump. And what's always been incoherent is the two arguments that come from corporate Democrats against Trump. One of them being he's an unhinged lunatic and you cannot trust him with that nuclear red button. That's one argument. I think that argument is correct. And then the second argument is, and why isn't he being more hawkish and upholding the empire more? You can't have it both ways. You got to pick one or the other. It's either, oh my God, he's a crazy person, I can't believe he has the nuclear red button. It's either that, or it's, man, he should be more interventionist and more hawkish and uphold the empire more. And oh my God, why isn't he escalating more with Vladimir Putin and do more sanctions on him and push further to the brink of war with him? You can't have it both ways, man, but the Democrats do. Because they're incoherent and they have no core philosophy. So, what a sad, sad letter this is. The second fucking point is continue the empire. Oh, man. We need a radical realignment of our priorities and a total retooling of our system. We need to spend our own tax money on things that make sense, like universal health care and universal education and a living wage and an infrastructure deal and ending the drug war and putting that money into rehab and education. There's so many things we could do here at home, and we don't fucking do it. Because whether it's Democrats or Republicans, you get the same old garbage, and this letter is another example of it.